What's up, gamers? DreamcastGuy here, and today we're talking about the PlayStation 6. Yes, I'm serious. Despite the fact that the PlayStation 5 has only been out for about 4 years, the fact that the PS5 Pro has not yet even been officially released, or even any sort of technical specifications specifically about the PS5 Pro have been released, today we got our first dedicated actual leaked details about the PlayStation 6, and while they don't reveal a lot about the console, they are beginning to get people to understand when it's probably coming out and roughly what it may cost. So let's discuss. Hi, hope you're having a great day, and if you could please give this video a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Now, I must admit, this is just insane that we're even discussing it. Maybe I'm just getting old, but it's crazy that I was playing the PlayStation 3 when I decided to create a YouTube channel. Some of my first videos were about the launch of the PlayStation 4, so it's wild that we're already discussing PlayStation 6 leaks, but the cost is partially what people seem to be the most worried about, even though it's probably not coming out for a while, which is the idea of how cheap can it be? If the PlayStation 5 Pro is $700, does that mean the PlayStation 6, if it theoretically comes out 4 years from now, say like 2028, will it also be $700, even as a base console? That's the part that's difficult to discern, but here is the good news about it. So apparently Intel was trying to get access to be the official chip to PlayStation 6. So AMD is currently the person that makes all the chips for the PlayStation 4 and the PlayStation 5. So the PlayStation 5 runs on AMD chips. Now, the reason I am considering this loss of a contract to be a good thing is that apparently where talks broke down is that essentially, when they were both bidding with Sony to see who gets to make the official guts of the next-gen console, the big discussion was profit margins, of essentially saying, okay, how many billions of dollars are we going to make off this, right? I mean, that's definitely what these companies are trying to do, is make the most money possible, but what was happening is that the actual profit margins on these consoles, even Sony stuff, are actually pretty low because PlayStation sells these systems at a loss. Pretty much every bit. Xbox, Nintendo sells their stuff at a profit, but a lot of times you're just trying to sell your console for literally the cheapest you possibly can because games are where you actually make your money. Everything that sells on a PlayStation, even digitally through the storefront, even microtransactions, Sony takes 30% off the top. So Sony, of course, is trying to sell as many tens of millions of PlayStations as they possibly can because that's the real profit earner, which means the people that are designing the guts, the chips in this case, they're not making that much. So essentially, Intel was like, okay, how much are we going to make off this? If you guys are selling at a loss, we're not selling it at a loss. So there was a lot of haggling about that, and essentially they decided to stick with AMD because of specifically backwards compatibility. Now, I am so happy about this because apparently they were, internally it sounds like no matter what, they were going to have backwards compatibility, they were going to figure it out, but going from one chip to a different chip, it would have been very difficult. Now, a lot of people here on the PlayStation 5 subreddit are saying, thank God, because man, the backwards compatibility that lacked in the PlayStation 3, that did suck at the time. The PlayStation 3, some versions of it were $500 back in 2006, which was obviously prohibitively expensive. And people were kind of going, okay, I have this massive PlayStation 2 collection that doesn't play on my PlayStation 3. That caused a lot of ire and upset. So the fact that now Sony realizes, okay, PlayStation 4 games playing on PlayStation 5 has been a huge success. So if we can keep those AMD chips, that means the PlayStation 6 at launch will hypothetically, obviously I don't have a crystal ball, it will be able to play the entirety of the PlayStation 4 catalog, the PlayStation 5 catalog, all probably upscaled to the PlayStation 5 Pro specifications, and also all PlayStation 6 games. Now, people are kicking around when this is going to come out, but according to actual documents, part of the Activision Blizzard case, Sony said themselves that they're not planning to launch their next console until 2028 at the earliest. Now, these are just legal specifications. I'm not saying they're a liar, but plans can change. So there is a chance we'll see it earlier, but I do think 2028 is when we're going to see the PlayStation 6. And additionally, I do have a feeling this is going to be the last PlayStation. It's just a vibe I have, but it just seems like as the console market continues to grow, as it expands and stuff like that, I do feel like we're hitting the upper echelons of actual graphical capability. We're getting so close to photorealism. At this point, I think it's not going to be about getting better graphics, better processors, better frame rate. I feel like we're going to hit a point where graphics are as good as they can be, and it's just going to be a matter of making the console as cheap as possible. It'd be cool if the PlayStation 6 launches, and it's going to be expensive, but over time it actually gets price cuts. Remember price cuts? Man, those were so good. Each of the previous console generations actually got cheaper, even though somehow this one keeps getting more expensive. But I think part of the reason people are discussing this is because apparently, according to trailer analysis by Digital Foundry, the PlayStation 5 Pro is still going to be running some games at below 1080p. In fact, below 900p. I think the idea that Sony is already working on the next generation, this isn't a big surprise. This actually happened with the previous generations as well. There was leaks about the PlayStation 3's dev kit about halfway through the cycle of the PlayStation 2, although that was all in gaming magazines 20 years ago at this pretty much. But my point is the fact that I am glad that Sony is being so forward thinking about how much they can do with the PlayStation 6, because the PlayStation 5 Pro, the PlayStation 5, these systems are still so powerful. It's interesting to me that we keep almost having this arms race where games keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger and somehow running worse and worse. Not that, I mean, obviously I'm obsessed with Alan Wake 2 and I think that game looks good, but it's baffling that it's such a low resolution. Now, I have seen some people kind of insulting Intel for not managing to work this deal out. I see a lot of people saying, okay, this could have generated $30 billion for you. You know, this could have been a big deal. This is ridiculous that they managed to mess it up. But I am still glad about the fact that Sony is clearly trying to do what they've done in the past, which is try to make it have the biggest adoption rate possible. I did see this tweet by Puerto Rico. I'm not sure how this gentleman's name is spelled, but PlayStation 6 will be like the PS5 based product. It's for mass adoption. Therefore, the PlayStation 6 cost will be subsidized, meaning selling it at a loss. PS5 Pro is not subsidized, which is why it's ridiculously expensive because it's being sold for a profit. Now, don't spend the next 4 years crying. Strong words, but I do think the talk and fear about PlayStation 6 that's currently existing in this early leak is just how pricey could it possibly even be? Because if this thing does cost $1,000, Pio here is definitely being silly. He's a big PlayStation lover, but like people are being like, okay, there's no way it could cost $1,000. I'll see you guys in PlayStation 6 launches in 4 years. I'll remember everybody that told me to be $1,000. I'll be honest, I don't think this is that outlandish. I'm not happy about it because I am a perpetual cheap ass, but I would not be shocked if the PlayStation 6 does cost $1,000. We'll see what money is worth then. We'll see how the economy is doing then. But just in general, this number is ridiculously expensive. I think it sucks, but I don't think it's impossible. Like, obviously, he's being silly here saying no controller, no cables. I think there is a good chance that the disk drive edition of the PlayStation 6 may actually cost $1,000, which is just so weird to think about. But these have just been some off-the-cuff thoughts. I kind of wanted to ramble about the PlayStation 6 because even though this is super, super far away, it's coming. It's just a matter of waiting until it busts that big old Sony load. Why do I talk like this? I have a meeting in 20 minutes. I'm talking about Sony busted nuts. Okay, anyways, love you guys a bunch. Thank you for watching this video. If you could, please give this video a like and subscribe if you haven't already. And please keep dreaming. All right. PlayStation 6. If the PlayStation 6 doesn't work with my current hardware, the way the PlayStation VR headset doesn't work on the PlayStation 5 or something, I'm going to be mad. I have a lot of PS5 controllers that better work on the 6. Thanks so much for watching that video. If you want to see something else, you can always click this link to see what I put up last, or, subscribe and see what's coming up next. Also, I promise that whatever I do, it'll try not to suck.